Well, welcome to another Rockin' More production. Today's math lesson is going to be on perimeter, and we're going to get right to it. The objective for today's lesson is that at the end you will be able to determine the perimeter of a shape and know how to find that, know what the steps are to do that. And when we think about perimeter, perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape, or the sum of all its sides put together, just the length of its sides, versus area, which is area is the inside. And one way to look at it is if you had a backyard, perimeter is the fence that goes around the yard. Area is the grass on the inside. And so today we're going to be focusing on perimeter. If we look at a shape like this square, for instance, if each of its sides are measured 5, let's say it's 5 centimeters. Well, it's a square, so we know all of the sides are going to be 5 centimeters. What we can do with this shape is we can just add up all 4 of its sides. And so if we added up 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, we get 20. And so the perimeter, or the distance around the outside of this shape, would be 20 centimeters. And usually we would put like P equals 20 centimeters. Triangle, it works the exact same way. You know, if each of these sides were 7, we would just add up these 3 sides. So we could do 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. Or you could also, if you know they're the same, we could just do 3 times 7 equals 21. And we found the perimeter. Hexagon, we're still in, or pentagon, we're still in the same instance. All we're going to do is add up the sides. And so with these shapes, they're all the exact same measurement. And so it's really easy because we could do multiplication. We could do 5 times 3, or we could just add up 3 5 times. Either way, we're going to end up with 15. And then let's say if this was feet, and we would finish with 15 feet would be our perimeter, or the distance around the outside of a shape. One other way to look at it, here we have a rectangle, and then we have a nice yard here. If we were going to try and put a fence around this yard, how would we figure out what it is? Well, we know this length is 4 yards, and this length is 6 yards. And a lot of times with shapes, you get 1 or 2 of the measurements, but you don't get them all. In this case, if this is 6 yards, I know this one is also going to be 6 yards. And if this is 4 yards, I know this side is also going to be 4 yards. So to figure out the perimeter of this object, what I'm going to end up having to do is just add up 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus 6. So I'm adding up all of the sides to figure out the perimeter, which I know is going to end up being 20 yards. So I could put P equals 20 yards. Another way sometimes you'll see is on grid paper like this. And if I know each one of these is 1, I could count up as I go around and figure out all of the sides. I know this side right here is 2, and here's a 1, and then this one is 1. We have a 2, a 2, a 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that I've measured all of these and figured out what their sides are, I have to add all of these up. Well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 18. So I know the perimeter here is going to be 14 centimeters. Another instance that you'll see is you'll see an object just like this one that isn't just a triangle or isn't just a square, doesn't have the same measurements. Here we have like a roof, and this roof has a little jut out in it. Well, we don't always get all of the measurements for the different sides. So if I were to say like, oh, let's say we didn't know that this was 50 here. If I know this one is 14, and this one is 23, and this one is 13, I could figure out what this other side is just by adding those together. I also have to make sure I remember these little side ones when I'm adding it. So if I wanted to figure out the perimeter of this roof, I would just add up all these shapes as I went through. So very simple, very quick. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of an object. How do we figure that out? Well, we can do 2 different ways. We can just add up the sum of all the sides, or another way is you could measure around the whole outside of something. But either way, the way to think about it is the fence around the outside of an object, or around the outside of some space. And that's how we figure out perimeter. Have fun.